All right, welcome to Building the Athlete. I'm your host, Scott Benson. Today we've got Reese Ross from the University of Utah women's basketball. Reese, thanks for being with us. Before I allow you to introduce yourself and we get started, I got to kind of throw a question at you to make sure you're warmed up and thinking so we can get on with this. So, first question to you, what is the worst experience you ever had babysitting one of my kids?
Easy. I can't remember exactly where you guys went, but they were gone for a decent amount of time. I was playing mom, nanny, school teacher, all the things, and it was a busy day, and we had Jackson had baseball, so we're, like, digging for all of his baseball stuff, can't find his glove, only have a left shoe, don't know where his bat's at. I was like, "Okay, perfect." So, yes, we left the house, like, completely distraught, threw everything in the car, got to baseball, come home, and, like, we had fed Charlie, went did his the puppy, did his and he was just, like, fresh at this point, and I remember coming back and all I hear is, "You killed my dog." Jack Jack Jackson yells, "You killed my dog," and I couldn't figure out why. Well, Charlie's laying on the floor and there's throw up everywhere, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, and then go around the corner and you know those hot hands that you put in your gloves when you go skiing? Well, yeah, Charlie decided he wanted to eat those, and I don't know what time it was where you guys were. It was the middle of the night, and I remember rushing him to the emergency room. There's only one doggy vet open, and it's, like, during finals week, and I remember the kids have to be up super early, so I didn't know if it was best to leave Addie and Jackson home or bring him with. He goes, "Not going anywhere till I know my dog's alive." That's Jackson. That was Jackson. So he's holding Charlie in the back seat on the way to the dog vet, and then they pumped his stomach, got everything out, and Charlie is still alive. Thank
Yes.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you could kill that dog. So, well, good. That's a good answer. Good way to get started. So, Reese, thanks again for being here. Go ahead, introduce yourself and kind of, where'd you come from, where you're at now, and just how things are going.
So, like I said, my name's Reese. I'm a junior this year at the University of Utah, and I play women's basketball. Studying psychology. I'm not totally sure what I want to do yet. I know I want to play post college, so I'm gonna shoot for that and figure out. I'm really interested in medical sales, so I think that's something or an avenue that I'd be interested in going to. I've known Scott since I was just a peanut. I transferred to St. Thomas More my 7th grade year, so grew up in Rapid City with my dad most of my life, and then got introduced to Benson sports training from a really young age, and then I was literally so scared. I remember the first time that was told I had to lift weights, and I was, like, petrified to even go in there. I was that weird kid that would sit in the corner and, like, didn't know what anything was, didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it turned into this beautiful thing, and that's where I spent most of my days. My junior and my senior year, I spent a lot of time in there. But yeah, that's kinda me in a nutshell.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about, as a Division I women's basketball player, what does the road to the next level or post collegiate look like?
Well, I think it starts when you're tiny. Like, I drove 9.5 hours every weekend for, what was it, 2 years to play for North Tartan, so I went to school only a couple days a week, and I was in and out of the Twin Cities, traveling all over the country to play, and I think it, like, just starts there and just knowing how important it is to take everything super serious, and, like, you do have to sacrifice a lot, and it's what are you willing to sacrifice to put yourself in the best position moving forward? And I think post college, I'm not really necessarily sure what that looks like. It's definitely something that I've been wanting to have a conversation with, but having Gavin, I know they have lots of connections, and my roommate happens to be from Australia. Her mom coaches as part of the WNBL there, and if I could choose, I'm gonna put my name in the draft and see what happens to see if I can stay in the United States. But if all else fails, I would love to spend a couple years in Australia. So I think it's just being able to build connections. Like I have a few Australian teammates who either have friends, moms, cousins, aunts that all coach. So I think it's just getting your foot in the door with like connections is so important. And like even my AAU coaches, there's been tons of people from North Tartan program that have played post college and even in the W. And so a lot of them have even coached in college. So it's just knowing your people and trusting that they got your back. And I think a lot of the time people don't realize the resources are right in front of them. They just have to be willing to ask questions. And that can sometimes be hard, but it is definitely the most important thing.
Yeah. And, obviously WNBA would be be awesome if that works out. But I think it's such a cool experience when I see athletes go overseas and play because not only you're fulfilling your dream to play professionally, but you're getting to see the world as
Mhm.
well. And I look at I know Ashlyn Duffy went over and played for a little bit, but Jake Sullivan's been in Germany and he's in his early 30s now, and has got to play his sport, make a living doing it, and experience a whole different culture. And I think that's really really cool, whether it be Australia or somewhere in Europe. But I wish you the best of luck with that, and obviously we'd like to see you stay in the United States and play at that level. But I think it's cool that there's other opportunities out there. So answer this question for me, and this isn't the first time I've asked this question. Do you think, or in your opinion, and I know you've lived this, but do you think young basketball players, and talking, probably more so about that high school player that's looking to get to the next level, do you think they play too much basketball?
Yes and no. I'm grateful that I got a chance to play other sports. I think it prepared me more for basketball. It was nice to have like a mind switch, and I think it's important to like honestly to this day I still think I'm a better volleyball like was a better volleyball player in high school than I was basketball. I'm not like the most skilled basketball player, but volleyball was always a nice outlet, and I also did sprinkled in some track here and there, played soccer growing up, and I think it's push on kids more that they have to pick one, stick with it from a younger age. Like, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, especially with AAU. If you know you have a passion and a drive that you want to play at the next level, AAU is no choice. Like, you have to do that because that's, especially being from South Dakota, there isn't really big time schools other than South Dakota State and USD, but I knew I wanted to get out and have an opportunity to place elsewhere. So AAU is really the only option. But I remember we I would be get there around 5 on Friday in Minnesota and practice for 3.5 hours, maybe drink one get one water break in those 3 hours, practice Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back home, and it was the same thing. It was just an expectation. So I do think it's hard. It really is because you do have to, like I said, sacrifice a lot, but it's worth it. You just there's gonna be days that are hard and you're gonna wanna give up and quit, but I couldn't imagine my life without basketball, like, in sports in general, just, like, being an athlete in itself has brought in so many opportunities and just it's such a unique way to get through life, and it teaches you so many life lessons that you wouldn't learn if you were here, so it's definitely, I think, pushed on kids a lot younger now, like, we've got recruits we got girls that are I just seen some girl, she was in, what, 6th grade taking a visit to some of these college universities, and it's crazy to me because my recruiting process was really different. I didn't start getting recruited till I was, like, late junior year. I committed right before my senior year of school started, so I kinda had a little bit of time to navigate it, but it was all such a short window within a couple months just because it was so late. But I do think those big time athletes that are getting recognized in 7th and 8th grade, I couldn't imagine I was, what, 17 years old, 16, 17, trying to figure out my future. I can't imagine what it's like for these 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. So, it is no joke, and I do think it's important to have people that have either gone through it or trust people that are gonna help you get through it because it's not something you should try to figure out and navigate on your own that young.
Yeah. So do you think the whole AAU club season, do you think it's even as important, like let's say, you know, 14 and 15 years old as it is 16, 17, and 18? Do you really think they're looking at those kids, or is that just such a select few that, what's your opinion on that?
I played for 2 years, and I wish I woulda had another. So I could say, like, high school, like, yes, definitely. I'm not so much certain about middle school and stuff like that because I don't think you really even are developed into what you're gonna be. Like, I played the 1 through 5, and now I'm playing a 4 in college, so it's like, I think AAU is where your roles really start to develop. So I do think there's an importance to it, but I would say definitely 3 years would have been a lot more beneficial, because it's hard to create quick relationships with teammates and like I played with those same girls for 2 years and there was still things kinks and things that we could have worked out if we were together a lot longer, but some of those girls that I played with have been playing tartan since they were in just little like early middle school years. I don't think necessarily, but if you have the resource, like I didn't have what the closest AAU team that traveled was probably Sioux Falls, you think? So
Mhm.
I just which was a few hours down the road from us. So I think if I would have had that resource where I had a travel team early on, I would have played. Like, I played travel basketball even when I went to school in Sturgis when I was really young, but we never left anywhere further than South Dakota. So I would say find a local team to develop skills, create relationships, and things like that. But definitely, if it's something you want to take serious and take to the collegiate level, I would say like 3 years of strong, hard grit AAU is needed because that was no joke. It literally prepared you for college. It was like a college practice. Like you were getting screamed at, kicked out of practice. Like drills were intense. There was no out of bounds. Like a jump ball, it was whoever decided to get on the ground and get rough and get tough. Like I think that's so important because it really does make you decide if this is what you want to do because it's way more intense than anything in high school. It requires a lot more of a commitment and just like drive to actually want to be there. So I would say 3 years of good solid AAU.
Yeah. So how many games a season were you playing in the AAU season?
Oh shoot. I played on a Nike circuit. So there was I don't know, I think there's 32 Nike teams around the country and we would play I think there's 4 sessions. Oh shoot. It kind of depended. If we picked up some in Minnesota as well. There would be stretches where we would be gone for weeks and we would play like crazy amount of because we'd probably play 4 or 5 games every tournament, I would say. Shoot, I can remember we played like 14 games in less than 7 days on these plastic courts in Chicago. And then we'd head from Chicago back to Minnesota, from Minnesota to Iowa. So it was kind of just, we were a little bit everywhere, but I don't
So
know.
you're probably playing at least another 50 games on top of your high school season.
And then we would have like scrimmages and stuff at practice on the weekends. We'd play runs against each other. So I'm not really quite sure exactly how many games it is, but we were playing 4 to 5 probably every tournament.
Yeah. So let's just say a lot, a lot of games. So kind of what I'm getting at is, you know, where do you draw the line? Basketball, over all other sports, is kind of where I see I have a hard time with the athletes that I work with being consistent with me. Because when you're playing, 70 to 80 games a year, that's an NBA schedule. And those guys don't even play all of their games. So where do you invest the time if you are that male or female high school kid that wants to get to the next level, like where's the kind of the return on investment? If you're a sophomore, does skill development and being in the weight room surpass playing that many games, or is it more important to be playing all the time? I think that's a tough question, but I want to hear your opinion on that.
I have to give you guys a lot of credit. I was such a lengthy little out of control body, not sure where I fit in growing up. And like, it definitely taught me just like basic things like A skips, B skips, how to properly jump, landing, things like that. Those things carry over when you're doing things in the weight room that are translating? I think it's so beneficial. And that's like an important line. Like, I see a lot of kids now starting a lot younger, starting to lift than normal. I think my class was like the first class that you started training that young. I think like and then we all kind of most of us stuck with you for a long time, but I think as long as you're doing things in the weight room that are carrying over and you're not just pounding weight, like even in college, like this is a great example. We do so much body weight exercises, tons of pull-ups, tons of push-ups, tons of plyometrics, a lot of like quick fours, cleans, high pulls, things like that. That stuff is I have so much like pride in doing that so young that I think translating and carrying that over into college has tremendously put me on a faster track to be successful. Because I remember coming into AAU, some of those girls never even touched a weight in their life, and we'd work out on the weekends in these training facilities. And I would kick everyone's ass, and no one understood why. And it was because I'd been doing these things since I was 13, 14 years old. And if you're doing translatable things, I think they're extremely beneficial. And when I got to college, I even stepped foot in with a couple freshmen who hadn't touched a weight in their life. And it was crazy how I was one of the strongest people at 18 years old while I'm playing with girls who are 22, 23. We even had a 24-year-old at the time. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's more so like you need it. Like, you did a great job at individualizing what people needed. Like, me being a basketball player and trying to balance being sore, but also maintaining like my fitness and staying strong. I think that's a really big challenge, and that's something right now we're facing too as we approach February. We're already in what game 25 plus games on the season right now, and heading into the conference tournament. Like a realistic question is, how do you keep yourself healthy? How do you keep your body fit? But I just think it's maintaining structure and not you don't gotta get in there and deadlift as much weight as you want, but it's important that you have that structure and just being consistent in small like strides. I think that's one thing as a basketball player. Like for the longest time, we talked about it. I struggle gaining weight, like, and I was in there all the time. I eat all the time, and like over time, I got there. Like gained enough weight in college, and I'm still would say I could gain more, but it just takes time, and building that consistency is super important.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. You lead into your experience in the strength and conditioning program, and the first thing you talk about is A skips and B skips and jumping and landing. Okay. So, talk as if, you're talking to high school athletes because number one, the boys just want to get in there and they just want to move weight. And that's all they care
Mhm.
about. Yeah, I got to get bigger. I got to get stronger. But that doesn't necessarily transfer to the field or the court, and then, with females, it's hard enough to get them in the gym anyways because there's just a different perception of lifting heavy. But talk a little bit to an athlete that's listening about what a real sports performance program is and how it's the weightlifting is foundational, and it's, in my opinion, it's more injury prevention than anything, but all the other things that go into training to make you a better athlete.
I think since I've gotten to college, one thing we've done a lot of circuits. We do a lot of circuit workouts to get our heart rate up, but also get our bodies moving and stimulate. Stimulation is a huge thing and a lot of quick explosive things because those things are easily translated to the court. Off season workouts completely different. Like in the summer, yeah, I think it's important get in there, push heavy weights, make yourself sore, but as a course of like playing all season long and making sure your body's staying healthy, that's so like that is one of the most important things as a strength and conditioning coach is finding that balance of how to keep an athlete healthy but also how to keep them in shape and stuff like that. But going back to like the basics, our warm-ups are the longest part of our lift during season, and they're very specific to what we're going to be doing on the court that day. Like if we have a high load day, we're going to be doing more getting our bodies going. Like we still do wall, like on the wall skips. We make sure our angles are right. And it's a lot of this stuff, it leads into like injury prevention. Like when you do the little things right, it makes doing the more difficult tasks even easier. Like we every even though I've been here for 3 years, we still have our strength coach. She'll stand there and talk about 3 points of contact and give a demo every single time of how to properly clean. Like it doesn't matter how old you are, you're never too old to learn something new. Like I didn't realize on my triple extension I didn't get all the way up. There was still another level of explosiveness that I could reach. There's always an area to get better in those tiny little details. We always say find what you focus on. That's like a big thing on our team, whether that's on the court, off the court, in the classroom, things like that. But you really do, when you do take a second and look at the small details of those individual easy things that you do every day, we call them daily vitamins. They translate and they matter, and they start to become more consistent and more easier. We jump on the force plates every week, and they give you a goal, and you get a chance to meet your goal. But if you don't do those little things right, you're never going to break those small barriers. So I just think like fine tuning those details is just as important as getting in there and pushing heavy weight. So like and starting the way you warm up is even more important. That's one thing, like, the older I get, my body shoot, my freshman year, I could get in there and ready to roll, but now I'm getting a little bit older, and my body's starting to feel it, like, warm up is even more important than the lift because if your body's not properly there, you're never gonna exceed in what you have at task.
Yeah. So do you think, I think you were very fortunate that not only were you able to play on an EYBL team, but you were essentially in a college level strength and conditioning program at 14 years old.
Mhm.
So do you think the absence of either one of those, so let's say you just did AAU or you just did the strength and conditioning and not the AAU, do you think you end up where you're at?
By the grace of God, I've seen girls, some of my closest friends, always not necessarily shit on me, but we're always like, "Why do you work out lift so much? Why are you always in the weight room?" They, like, put more time in the basketball court. They get to college and they're below average. They're already set themselves up for failure. It's doable, like, if you're a freak athlete and you just have crazy genetics, but if you're coming from where I grew up and how I grew up, it would have been not even in the question. Like, I would have been so far behind in college. Like I said, I'm undersized in my position, not the most skilled. I'm athletic, but my athleticism was never amplified until I started working out with you because I didn't know that I was capable of having crazy hops or like just like utilizing my gifts. I think is the biggest thing is they need to figure out how to bring those out at a young age. And I don't know how you do that just dribbling a basketball and shooting it in the hoop. Yeah, great. That's cool. But can you go up and get a rebound? Can you keep yourself from being injured? Like I don't know how these college athletes that don't lift and don't do any of that and just play basketball, stay healthy because I would have no idea because I know I couldn't.
That was going to be my next question. So these girls that you talk about that have made it to that level based on, I mean, a skill set and genetics. Have you seen, are those the ones that you see in the training room more often? Because we always equate strength and conditioning to performance. I mean, really, probably even more so than performance, it's the number one way to keep yourself healthy and keep yourself on the floor. Have you seen some of those that didn't have that experience coming into college that have experienced more injuries?
I know a couple girls, knees especially, big thing for female athletes, ACLs, MCLs, meniscuses. Not saying that it's not doable and not get injured in that type of way, but I've definitely seen girls who jump into college and then you're putting your body through so much that it hasn't experienced and it's never tolerated that type of pressure, that intensity, that force before. So that's why a lot of injuries happen. And honest to God, like I don't know how these people come in freshman year of college because I was so sore after like and I remember my entire freshman summer, all I did was sleep. I was exhausted. My body was just tired. I was always fatigued, but I came in knowing 90% of what we were doing. I don't know how people come into college that have not touched a weight in their life. Like in it's just like a switch for them. Some people can do that, but I personally don't think I could have done that. And I've been lucky, other than my arm in high school, which is kind of a freak thing. I mean, I got my sore tendons and things of those natures, but I've been fairly healthy and I attest that to taking weights just as important as getting in my daily vitamins, ball handling, shooting, my free throws, things like that. It's just as important. And I put a lot of pride in that having to do with maintaining a healthy body and not being injured.
Yeah, and I think an important thing to add to that for young athletes that are listening is it's one thing to have to come in to college and your body hasn't been under the stress of a weight room and now the expectation is that you're in there 4 or 5 days a week in the off season. But also let's talk a little bit about all the other things that are stressing your body. You're away from home. Like talk about, you went the summer of your freshman year, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so talk about what an off-season day for an incoming freshman in the summer looks like.
So first off, like you said, you're away from home, so it's a really big adjustment. You get thrown into a pool with what 14 strangers, 13 other strangers, and I had a roommate in the summer. We lived in a two bedroom or 2 beds in 1 square box, and we had community bathrooms, so we lived in the dorms, and then we'd get up we worked out pretty early every morning, so probably be up around 7, 7:30. I was always in there, like, an hour before we started, so we have an hour of weights, which in the summer is no joke, like, throw up type workouts, they were really hard, and then you'd go on the court and you'd have an hour of skill, which would be a lot of ball handling, a lot of passing, shooting, just getting up and down, and then typically we eat as a team. A lot of us have classes in the summer, especially coming in your freshman year. So we'd probably go back and study. We had a really good summer schedule. We were done by noon every day, so it was nice. But those couple hours in the morning, it's grind, and you were in there Monday through Friday. Your off days were Saturday or Sunday, but most of us would then again, following that night, go in and shoot on our own on the shooting machine. So you're spending extra time in the facility to get more shots up. The summer is really a chance to that's where you get better, I would say. So we can get individual workouts in with the coach. It's kind of to your leisure and you can push yourself as hard as you want or you can settle for as little as you want. Like it's really on you. And I think that's one thing that's been cool that about this program and I've really enjoyed, but our team is so competitive. So I think that's one thing be prepared for is just because you were the best in high school does not mean you're going to be the best when you get here and do not expect to be. You could be good at one thing, but somebody's going to kick your ass in something else. So just be ready for that competitive nature. Like if you think we did a lot of circuits and it was continuous rounds of running, pull ups, push ups, heavy lifts. And I remember we had one, everyone's passed literally wanted to pass out and there's always those girls that are going to take those extra rounds and keep going until they you can't no more. So I just think a day it's like and like I said, my freshman year, I was exhausted. All I wanted to do like was sleep. Like your body just is adjusting to new like I'm at an extremely high elevation. That was a shock. And coming from South Dakota, like we're at elevation. It's no like training here was it was hard. And I remember I have teammates from Australia coming from sea level. It took them like a month to get acclimated. But a lot of us would go in for extra things all throughout the day, just whether that's meeting with our nutritionist, our academic advisor. Everyone's there on the summer, so it's really your leisure of what you take advantage of, I would say. Mornings are pretty jammed, and then we kind of had a free day the rest of the time.
Yeah. And then and then school starts and now you have a full schedule of school.
Yeah.
I'm assuming film,
Mhm.
all of that. So, I think it's just important again to make the comment that the stressors on the body, mentally and physically, they're not just related to the sport. There's so much you have to
Mhm.
adapt to. One thing you said is, you get there and it's super competitive, and you right away because I mean, you also said you might have been the best on your high school team, but so was everybody else that's there. I can remember, and I didn't find this out until probably 25 years after college. And so I had my training group in college was another high jumper, triple jumper, like everybody was super high level. Like these guys were all state in 3 or 4 sports in high school. We were all highly ranked in the country in NCAA. And I remember having anxiety going to practice.
Oh,
I remember, and it'd be like, well, maybe I'll just go to the trainer first, and then I'll go run my workout on my own. I mean, this is my internal dialogue, of trying to punk out basically because it was so competitive and so hard. And then I'd show up and I'd do it, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I did it. And then everybody's a little bit different at everything else. Like, I'd go out on the track with these guys and they would kick my ass. We'd go in the weight room, I'd kick their ass, and that's how you get better. And I actually, one of my good friends, he ended up being one of the best triple jumpers in the world. I brought him up to talk to a group of track athletes, and he told me the same story 25 years later. He said, man, I would like make excuses and tell the coaches that I had a test that I'd go make up just to get out of practice because it was just scary, like
mhm.
having to do that. Do you have kind of that same experience? Do you have those girls that we're going head to head and we're going to push each other? And at the end of the day, you're going to make each other better.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely been those days. I still have them every so often where you'll come off 2 off days and you're like you have that feeling of anxiety and pressure to perform, and I think a lot of them, especially on my team individually, there's a couple girls that have really bad performance anxiety. Not necessarily so much for themselves, it's not wanting it's like a not a fear of failure, but more so letting people down. Our team is really like, Utah basketball at core is team oriented. No one's out there to get theirs. We don't have any ISO plays for anybody on our team. It's always an extra pass. So I think like it's so competitive because we all want to do so well for each other. Like I remember there's been times at practice I've shoved my teammates on the ground. I've told them to get effed a couple times. Like it's all out of love. And when you can realize that and switch your mind that it's okay to be competitive and push yourself, but also it's more important. We have signs that says when you walk in our gym, who did you make better today? And reminding yourself that it's not always about you and when you can what you put out is what you get. And I think a lot of the times people are focused on how they're feeling in a lot of moments. And that's one thing that I do because I like I said, I've got my issues, I've had my mental health things and I do have really bad anxiety and it's when I like start reflecting on how I'm feeling when if I'm putting in as much thought into myself as I am in somebody else, 90% of the time the outcome is going to be so much better for you because you're not worried about what you're feeling when you're pouring into other people. So I just think like being self-aware of, yeah, it's really competitive, but that means there's an opportunity to get better. That's not a place you should shy away from. It should be an not even an obstacle or a challenge. It's a privilege, and that's one thing that I feel like I've always looked at situations in a different light, and that saved me in so many things. Like, there's always an opportunity to fail. We talk about it every day. We try to go 1-0. We break it down at the end of practice, and it's either we have a 0 up or we have a 1 up. You can win every single day. And when you focus on the things you can control, that's when things start to like shift for you and the way you're feeling and the practice you're having. And you're not gonna have a great day every day. It's impossible. Like, this is my 3rd year here, and there's been days where I've airballed, I've forgot how to dribble a basketball, and it's like most of the time it's because I'm worried about myself and how I'm feeling and what I have going on. But when you portray that on other people, it's honestly impossible to not be the best version of yourself when you're doing it for other people. So that's my biggest like advice is probably just like realize be intentional about how you're feeling, but also realize you're there for other people and it's really not always about you. And you don't really have a choice. Like that's the hardest part about being at the top. It's like illusion of choice. You don't have one.
Yeah.
You get in, you get it done, and it might have been a 50% day for you, but that's better than shying away from it or not facing a new day and a new light and being able to get better.
Yeah. And let me clue you in on something. That performance anxiety and those nerves that you get, those don't stop after sports is done because you're gonna have that important that important sales call, that important proposal, you gotta go perform surgery or, whatever it is, whatever your profession ends up being. But what I can tell you from experience is you're a little better suited for those experiences because you were an athlete. And so, what we're really talking about here is what sports does to prepare you for life after sports. And those moments are so important. And I'm so thankful that I got to have them. And I'm just so glad that you're getting to have them now. You came out of a big AAU program. You've been at the Division I level for 3 years. You've obviously seen people and known people that didn't make it. So let's talk a little bit about why. Why do you think people give up? Why do they quit? What are the big factors there?
I think a lot of it is like self-doubt and like making excuses. That was like my biggest thing growing up. I sacrificed so much. I didn't really have friends growing up. You knew how I spent so much time in there. You guys were like my family. Like you make the most of what you have. And I think a lot of times people are worried about what party they could attend on the weekend instead of being in the gym or getting packed and heading to Minnesota. Like I literally had no life. My life was school and my life was basketball and it was hard. I have really bad mental health issues because of it growing up because I didn't really no one did what I did. And you kind of felt like you're alone and you're on an island and you're isolated. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you're not surrounded by the people who want common goals, you get separated and you put in this category of, "Oh, what you do isn't normal." What I did was not normal at all, but it is what more people should be doing. And I think this idea of what a standard life should look like, yeah, there should be balance between sports, social, school, church, whatever you keep in your circle or whatever your daily life looks like. Surrounding yourself by the right people is so important. And I look back at some of the girls from high school that I played with. We played together since we were in seventh. Most of us were sixth grade all the way up to high school. We played, and it was us five. And there was a couple of those girls who I definitely think could have played that not necessarily it didn't have to be at a power core level, but they had an opportunity to play. And people just get content and it's complacent and okay with just being average. And I got to give my dad a lot of credit because he never wanted me to just be okay with being okay. There was always another niche or another drive that I could always reach, and he always pushed me. So I definitely think it has so much to do with the people that you pour into and that pour into you. And like staying, how do you stay there? Shoot, there was so many days where I wanted to throw in the towel. Like getting in the car and driving 9.5 hours, like when it was awful. Like it sucked. And knowing you were gonna get out in the car, have that anxiety to perform and get screamed at, told you suck, like you're not gonna make it, you're just average. you're too little, you're this. Like, it's really hard to understand that all that stuff's out of love and it's to make you better, but you have to be willing to see that and not make excuses for yourself and not put yourself in this like shadow of I'm the problem. Like I can't do no wrong. I can do nothing right and things like that. That was a really big thing for me was always like understanding you my dad always did this analogy. It's like a paved road with a bunch of rock, or you have a yellow brick road that's all shiny and you assume what's at the end. It's gonna be easy. It's gonna be just go right on up to the castle. But you're never really certain of what's down the hard paved road. And like you can make the life so much more there's so much light in a difficult road. Like you just don't always see it. Like just because you don't know what's at the end doesn't mean it can't be something amazing. And there's even days still that I want to throw in the towel. I don't know how many times I've told my dad I hate this shit, I want to quit. Like I every week it's something new. Dad, why did I sign up for this? You chose to do it. Now you're going to deal with it. And it's really what you make of it. Just like understanding that this is a privilege too. What there's tiny percent of people that are at the top and it's like it's cool. Like these girls, it is like so cool picking their brains and seeing how everyone grew up. Like my team is so unique. We all are very similar, very gritty Midwest people with a few internationals tossed in there that me and Kyra, me and my roommate, for example, grew up really similarly, have a lot of the same core values. And like, I wouldn't trade this for anything. And I'm so glad that I thugged it out because it is so worth it. But it is definitely extremely difficult, especially trying to navigate that at such a young age when you don't always have the guidance that you need.
Yeah, it's really hard to give up being a normal high school student
Mhm,
and not going to the party or not, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that, every high level athlete I've ever trained, they didn't just sit in a room and that's all they did. I mean, everybody had social lives, they had families, they had schoolwork, they had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but they stayed disciplined to the things that they knew were going to make them successful. And that was,
mhm.
always working on the skill development, always being in the weight room, doing the right things in there. And, I see so many kids that they're just too busy. And it's like, come on. Like, I've been doing this. I've worked with thousands and thousands of kids. I've heard all the excuses. If you really want this, you'll
Mhm,
find the time to do it. And like you said, you found too much time. Like you were in the gym every day, all day, because that was where you wanted to be. So I mean, nobody's that busy. You're just not that committed. And I think young people need to understand that. And you kind of alluded to the girls that you've seen fall off and not make it, kind of adopt that victim mentality, and everybody's out to get them, and it's not fair. The system's not fair, and when you're going down that road, your career is the time is probably very limited. What did you? So moving from the high school game to the college game, what was the thing that you really, really had to work on to be able to get out on the floor? What was the biggest difference in the game that you saw?
Speed. College basketball from high school basketball is so much faster, and also, like, our style of basketball in particular is really fast paced, so it was being able to make quicker decisions with less amount of time, and being confident in your decisions and being efficient. It's no joke, each possession matters, and in high school, you could have 30 turnovers and still win by 50. Like, our high school team, I can probably count on one hand how many games I lost while I played at STM, but we playing in college, like, every possession matters so much more, and we talk about that a lot, like, limiting turnovers. That's a huge thing because we play so fast. It's how do you make yourself more efficient, moving faster, playing a higher IQ game, but also limiting those casual turnovers, like sloppy passes, letting teams get second chance rebounds. But for me, it was definitely had nothing to do with the skills because that's something we do every single day is get up shots and do our like dribbling and not worrying about you don't need to worry about learning plays and things like that but just be ready because it's so fast the translation the game like you cannot replicate that in high school so that's something you can't prepare for so I think that's why it is like the hardest thing but luckily with AAU we played like my teammates play all over the country one of my good teammate. She plays at South Carolina, starts at South Carolina, is one of the best guards in the country. Like I wasn't playing with scrubs. I was playing with the best of the best. and you still aren't prepared for how fast college basketball is. So that's definitely the one thing that is hard to replicate.
Yeah. And I've heard that from all of my athletes in all of the sports. The biggest thing that changes from high school to college, football, basketball, volleyball, baseball, doesn't matter, is the speed of the game. And guess what? We don't train very much as a whole in high school speed. So kind of crazy. So, obviously, the speed of the game is different. How has Reese Ross changed and adapted and evolved in the last 3 years
Like as a person or as a player?
as a player?
I think the biggest thing in the last, like, 3 years has been my confidence, and I don't think you talk like, it doesn't get talked about a lot, but there's so much power in confidence, like, you feel unstoppable. Like, when I'm out there and I'm confident in what I have going on, I feel like a completely different person than when I'm going out there worried about, "Oh my gosh, I'm guarding one of the best forwards in the country," and worrying about the small, uncontrollable things. I also think too, I've learned to use my attitude. I'm a little hothead. I get a little fired up, but how to use that in like a way that makes me better. Because I think a lot of the times, like people who know me from when I played in high school, I would spiral. Like, and it took me completely out of the game, and I was a different human. But now I've utilized it, like gotten a lot better and realized like that can be a gift, but it's just how do you apply it. I've also gotten a lot better at understanding my athleticism and where I excel. Like I'm one of the best rebounders in the country and I'm only 6 feet tall. Doesn't matter how tall you are, how much you weigh. It's do you really want to be good at something? And I've gotten a lot better at like I have a great IQ of just knowing where the ball is coming off the rim, and that's not something that always shows up on the stats is offensive rebounding and just defensive rebounding and your overall rebounding percentage. But in the last 3 years, I've earned the title of being one of the best rebounders, and I'm very reliable in that way. Offensively, again, just my I'm quick downhill. I get downhill really well. My shots improved over the year, but all of that literally just comes from confidence and there's so much truth in having a coach that trusts you. It was hard my freshman and sophomore year because my leash was about this long, and the minute I turned it over or the minute I took a bad shot, I was out. And it's like, again, why me? Like, why am I have a leash that's this short? No, it's definitely a process. I don't think people really talk about that either. Like playing 10 minutes your freshman year is just as important as playing 35 your junior year. Like the only way you get better is game wise is by playing. And I think too, like having those experiences playing my freshman year and my sophomore year has made playing my junior year so much easier because I don't think anymore. I can play. First 2 years you're like a sponge. Like you literally are absorbing so much, whether that's new play calls, new terminology was a huge thing coming into that I wasn't expecting, like snapbacks, like brush, things like that, like terminology I've never heard before. And so the first 2 years you really do absorb a lot. And I think the second it sets you up great for your second years because you can just go out and play. You can hoop and make reads and that's the biggest jump is I'm not learning anymore. I'm still of course you're learning every single day, but I'm learning in a different way and I'm being able to apply it in a new way.
What's been the biggest what's the hardest thing you've had to get through in your athletic career?
I would say my mental health because it's something you don't heal overnight. It's not something you can fix. It's something I've struggled with like really bad, and I'm not harsh to talk about it. It's something I everyone that's close to me is aware of. Like I had really bad depression there for a long time, and it's hard because you look at your life and you have so many things going for you, an opportunity at picking a career that you want. You're playing at the highest level of basketball. You're getting paid to do it. All these variables, and I could never understand why I was so sad. And I think that is like the hardest thing being a college athlete is it's just as mentally exhausting as it is physically. I can do all the physical tasks. I can do what you tell me to do on the basketball court, but when it comes to the 6 inches between your ears, it's just as important to take care of that. We have a great sports psychologist team at the U, and having those resources has been so amazing, and I've been able to create such, like, strong relationships with them, and it's so important to reflect on yourself and see where you're struggling as a person. I think for years growing up, I numbed it. I was always there was always something off, but getting to college and when you're actually on your own and you don't have people navigating your life for you and telling you you need to be here at this specific time, like, it's all on you. gets a lot more stressful and it gets a lot more hard to manage. And I think if I would have jumped ahead of it at a younger age, it would be a different story. But definitely just getting through those like times of just like rock bottom. I've done it so many times that I know I'm capable of doing it again. And I know it's not going to end because mental health is a continuation and it's something that you got to work on every single day. But if anything, has nothing to do with basketball and school and things like that. It's definitely my mental health.
Yeah. And I mean, I applaud you for being candid about it and speaking about it. And, you have to be brave to be able to do that. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of male and female athletes that do deal with depression and they're terrified to talk to anybody about it because it's part of our society. Like you said, I mean, you're playing at a high level in academics and choosing a career. There's so many stressors that trigger those type of mental health issues, and if you're not surrounded by good people and you can't talk to anybody, it can go very badly. So I appreciate the fact that you're willing to talk about that, and that you've fought through those things and you've gotten help, and you're lucky that you have all those resources around you. But I would just implore any young person that is having those issues to find somebody to talk to, because it is so important. So yeah, it's one thing I wanted to kind of back up on is you had mentioned your volleyball career and how you felt that you were probably a better high school volleyball player than you were a basketball player. I watched you play both. I know you could have been a Division I volleyball player. How do you feel that volleyball helped you as a basketball player?
Well, I think the reason I'm so bouncy and like quick off my feet and reactive is a lot to do with volleyball because it's a off the net, on the net, off the net, on the net. And that like my footwork, the way I jump, I jump for rebounds left, right, left. There's a lot of things that have carried over. I also think too it challenges you in a different way too. That's not very, like, related to basketball. Like, it's not a physical sport. Basketball's physical and volleyball's more it's there's a lot of mental, like, opportunities to fail or succeed in volleyball, and again, it's each time, each possession, it's a new reset, it's a new opportunity, and that's what I really liked about it, is you shift your focus, like, that's something I think I carried over too is, like, "We lost the point, let's get it back. Let's side out right here." So that's like same thing on D, like you turn the ball over, okay, or on offense, turn it over. You still have a chance to get it back on defense. So there's like a lot of applicable things, but it was also different enough that I learned new skills and how to be athletic in different type of ways. So when you are on the court, you can kind of be a Swiss Army knife. Like you have your athletic abilities as a basketball player, but you also have them as a volleyball player. And when you mesh them, that's what I think got me to the next level is being versatile and not just a one-dimensional type player. And I don't think that I like without you teaching me how to properly jump, like I had a pretty dang good vertical in high school. And that's something that is so translatable in college. Like I all my teammates, they look at me and they're like, I'm one of the strongest players on my team and you look at me and you don't think so. And I can jump the highest on my team by far still. Since my freshman year I came in and I could jump, touch rim and that's definitely because of my plyometrics from such a young age and also playing volleyball. And it's translated so well to being a college athlete as a basketball player.
So what you're saying is when you're done playing professional basketball, you're going to go play professional sand volleyball.
No, I literally there's days we go and watch a volleyball play because I got a couple girls on the team, and I literally, like sometimes it's so hard to go and watch because I wish I could, like, play again. Like, volleyball was so fun.
So, you get to the Division I level, and we've talked about this a little bit, and everybody there was the stud of their high school team. They're all the best of the best. So you're surrounded by great or good players. What makes players great? What makes players continue to excel once they get to the Division I level? I mean, I think a lot of, and you know how it is, and I deal with athletes in every sport, and everybody wants to go D1, everyone, but it's almost like that's the final goal is getting to Division I, which, why do some people get there and don't really get much better? Why do some people get there and excel to that next level?
Making the most of every opportunity and utilizing, like, the resources you have in college is so important. Like, you have so many people that wanna help you, You just have to be willing to ask those questions, have hard conversations, and push yourself to actually get better. Like, it's so easy to get complacent in life, and I think comfortability is one of the most dangerous things, and there hasn't been a time shoot, this is probably the most content and comfortable I've been now that I've been here for 3 years, but it took a long time to get here. But I think putting yourself in every door you possible is so important. Like, we have Crimson Council, we have all these other small groups. Like, that's just as important in college and integrating into, like, just being a better human. Like, it's not a like, realistically, this isn't about being a college athlete. This is about what skills and what you've learned and what can you apply moving forward. Like, these life lessons that you're gonna learn are so different than what you would how you would learn something if you weren't playing college basketball. So, I think, like, just never getting complacent and always understanding that you can get better at something. You're never perfect at anything. And like again, my teammates are awesome because none of us are okay with just being average. And that's been so huge for me because there's days you walk in that weight room and you want to pick up the 20s, but you know you can pick up the 30s. And so it's just like those small things are so important. Like never taking a day off. You can have bad days. Never said you couldn't have a bad day, but never take a day off and understand that there is always an opportunity to get better. It doesn't matter where it is or how you do it, but you can find a way. And if you choose to find a way, that's what makes you excel in college. But there's a lot of people that, like I said, self victimize and they're okay with just being average.
Yeah. Pretty good insight for a pretty young kid.
Like,
So I mean, that's awesome because you're right. This is you're prepping for life, not for basketball. I had Haley Timmer on probably a couple shows ago. You got to play against Haley a couple weeks ago. How's that playing against a high school teammate?
it's honestly so cool, and I think, like, it's more powerful because of where we came, like, we it's not like South Rapid City's small, but it's also there's a very you know every single person who's made it far, so it's cool, especially for her, like, getting out of South Dakota, I'm glad she got an opportunity to play at the Power 4 level because it is such an amazing experience, and I don't think she could have gotten like, you can't get the same experience at a mid-major as you do at a Power 4, so I think and it was also so cool to see, like, how many people still support you when you don't talk to them every day. Like, I see a couple other high school parents that made it out to watch the game. I had a lot of family who came, and it's pretty cool just to, like, reflect and be like, "Yeah, that's where I came from." Having someone else do it too because I know individually what it took, so it's just, self-reflecting to her just to give her, like, the hand and say that's pretty dang cool because she did it as well because it wasn't easy, and we had a very similar path went to private school, played for the same AAU team, traveled the same way. So it's pretty cool to see that she got a chance to play. And this year, especially the Big 12, one of the most competitive conferences in the country this year. And I don't think we get enough respect. And it's proven every team this season is what really it's all that middle area is all meshed. Every team's 8-4, 8-5 in conference. And it's going to be cool to see where it plays out.
Yeah, yeah. Did you just recently play my alma mater?
Iowa State, yeah,
Or no,
we
that was the
lost.
men's played.
Oh, yeah, well, we did play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost. You don't even I don't even know, like, that she's insane, and I played against her in AAU. I remember guarding her because we didn't have a 5, so I played our 5, and I would literally could hide behind her. Like, she's such an impressive player, like, the way she is able to she has great footwork, she finishes really well around the rim, and she's just like there's no other player like her, she's very unique, and also too, having as many girls around her that are capable of shooting and scoring themselves is helps, and she's a very good big that can pass out, so their team's really good, and she's one of the best bigs in the country. It's that's I think the coolest part about being here is playing against some of the these athletes that are like I've played against girls who are in the WNBA. Like that's such a sick thing to say. And even when we are in the Pac-12 playing against UCLA, every game was of just as big of a game. We'd play Stanford, the next day you'd play UCLA, and then the weekend after that you'd play UCF or yeah, USC. So it's just that's probably the coolest part. I got to guard Cam Brink my freshman year. Just little me got tall blondie over here and cussing at me because I was irritating. Surprise, surprise. But no, that's definitely it's cool to get a chance to play against some of these freak athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the way that I finish all my shows is we do a rapid fire question round. So you're not allowed to think about your answer. I'd think about it a little bit, but I just want quick answers, short answers. You ready to go? All right. What is your favorite move to get to the bucket?
Just high slot rip drive downhill.
Okay. Favorite thing to do not related to sports?
Building Legos.
What's your favorite pregame meal?
One Bloom energy drink and a Subway sandwich.
Who's the toughest defender you faced?
Oh shoot. I don't even know. I don't know.
Okay. What's one drill that you swear by?
Like that I never want to do again.
No, that you love.
One drill. Probably red light, green light shooting.
Okay. Well, then we got to go with what's one that you never want to do again?
The pit drill.
Okay. What's your favorite weight room exercise?
Cleans, hang cleans.
Favorite pregame music?
2016
Describe your game in one word.
versatile.
Okay, dream pickup game. You and four players, they can be dead or alive. Who you picking?
Kobe, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, MJ, and shoot, who's another one? Kevin Durant. My favorite player.
Okay. What's the best advice a coach has ever given you?
Shoot, best advice. Probably just like be true to who you are and like never shy away from like big moments because I'm capable of it.
What is one thing people don't know about Reese Ross?
That I used to like be really good at bowling. Like I was on a bowling league and I like bowled like a 242 at like 9 years old. But then I gave that up so I could play basketball. But yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't have.
Yeah. Facts.
So, well, Reese, I really appreciate. I know what your schedule's like, so I really appreciate you spending the time. It's awesome to catch up with you. It's awesome that I've got to see you grow from 13-year-old to this person that you are now, and we've spent a lot of time together. So it's very impactful to see how you've grown into this strong, confident woman. And I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
And obviously, come visit me anytime that you're home.
Don't worry, I'll be there.
All right. Well, you have a great day. And again, I thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. You too.